Yes, my friends, welcome back. Get it? Wow, awful start to the video. Obviously, today, big stories to discuss. We discussed the latest developments around Nicolas Jackson. We talked the big updates surrounding most of our players now going to the Saudi League. And let's talk some of the controversy surrounding these moves. And of course, we have updates around Kai Havertz as well too. So, tons of things to break down and discuss. But before we get into anything, I have to start the video off properly. I need to say just a massive thank you to all the support and kind words and positive affirmations from everyone over the past few days. Like, you've probably seen what's been happening to me based on my community posts on YouTube. Just been a surreal past few days, to be fair with you. Not really making too much sense at all, but I guess that's life, right? Gotta just life up and keep on going on. So I think for the next few days, this is going to be my assistant in videos. Need to support my back. I don't know if you guys can see too, I've got a bit of a lateral shift where right now I'm kind of lopsided. It's pretty crazy at this point in time, and to be honest, it's the medicine's helping. I guess you could say I'm naproxen FC. I guess you could say I'm codeine FC right now. Yeah, it's helping at the moment, but obviously just lying in bed all the time, yeah, it's a bit depressing not being able to do much, to be fair. So I'm happy that at least I've got a bit more ability now. I can walk a little bit and obviously tackle some of the big stories that's been dropping over the past few days. So I hope you guys are happy to see my hairy mug back on your screens. And yeah, let's break down the latest reports. So let's start things off with the latest reports, and we have to talk Nicolas Jackson, because right now Jackson is set to become our first new signing of this new summer season, and we are close to triggering his release clause, which is set at around 35 million euros. Now, of course, we are looking to pay for this deal in installments in typical New Chelsea fashion. This works in our favour, and of course, to continue on with the trend, we are offering a long-term contract. Now, we can't offer any more 7-year, 8-year deals, but we're going to make sure we take full advantage of the current contract lengths that you can give out, and that's set to be 5 years plus a 1-year extension. Of course, the extensions allow you to reduce the player costs as the seasons go on, and of course, I think when we're signing so many young players under 23 years old, even though they have talent and potential, it's a little bit of a lottery ticket at times, right? Because, if they don't work out, you have to sell them on in the future. And I think this way we can spread the costs out in a lot more of an affordable way, which makes it easier for the young guys to maybe move on if things don't work out. And of course, it's easier for us to recoup some money back as well. Now, already, personal terms have been agreed with Nicolas Jackson, which is very positive news. And the player wants to come to the Premier League, which is pretty obvious, right? I think he has an amazing opportunity here to make something happen. I think he's probably coming at the right time, working under a manager like Mauricio Pochettino, who is known for working with young players and giving opportunities and taking their game to the next level. So for me, I think this Jackson guy is a good reflection of the transfer team. Of course, when we made signings like Badiashile, it came based on personal recommendations from experts, right? And obviously BOEHLY, Igbali, Clearlake, Consortium, all these guys, they hired some of football's best experts to run this club. So as I said in the previous video, let's actually see what they can do when they don't have infinite money to rely upon. Regardless, the official bid is incoming. Villarreal are getting ready. They tried to keep him, but it's a bit too late for that. And I still find it very funny that maybe a few months back, this guy is signing for Bournemouth if he doesn't have a hamstring injury and doesn't fail his medical. So it's really funny how this game can be sometimes. But I think in terms of his characteristics and how he plays and stuff like that, I think the guy looks quite interesting. And I'm actually planning on releasing a reaction video, which I ain't done in a while, later on today. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. So let's now discuss another quick update around Kai Havertz. Now for me, and I don't know how some of you guys are feeling about this yet, but I still find this whole Havertz Arsenal story pretty surreal. And I remember all the hype that was following Havertz when we first signed him from Leverkusen all those seasons back. And who would have thought that this was how his storyline with us was going to play out, that he goes to join our rivals across London. I feel that there is a bit of a conversation behind this move. Why does Havertz feel like he doesn't want to extend his contract here? Does he not believe in the project maybe? Is he a bit tired of life at this football club? Or is the proposal from Arsenal just that much better that he'd be silly not to take this opportunity? I feel like it would be very easy to have our fan brains on and just easily dismiss Kai for being a snake or this, or he was never good enough to begin with. But, you know, I feel like we still never really did enough to really take his game to the next level. But it does seem like Edu, Arteta, they have big plans for Kai. But are their plans going to be stifled because they don't want to pay the transfer fee that we're demanding? Now, we want £70 million for Havertz. In my opinion, yeah, when you're selling to any domestic rival, I'm sorry, that comes with a premium. Like, if we were to make moves for Saka or someone, we're not going to be getting the normal market rate for them. We're paying a premium on top. And I think for a guy that has 2 years left on his contract, that still performs for his national team, that still has tons of potential too, going to a rival, I'm sorry, Kroenke, cough that money up. Because you have to remember, guys like Edu, Arteta, like they're kind of like handicapped by whether the Arsenal boards are going to give them a bit more money to spend. And so far, Kroenke's showing that, listen, he won't cough up the extra millions when Arsenal actually need to sign the player at the right time. So time's going to tell with this one. But I think for us right now, it seems like we're hoping that Bayern Munich in their late interest for Havertz, now that they're finding it quite hard to find a replacement for Lewandowski. Last season, they just about, bagged that Bundesliga title. If it wasn't for Dortmund collapsing, one of the worst collapses I've seen in recent football memory right now. But they really struggle without having a focal point, a traditional number 9. Right now, reports do say that Havertz isn't as interested in going back to the Bundesliga, but money talks. Maybe he enjoyed his time with Thomas Tuchel. Could that be a factor that entices him? But regardless of what happens, from our side, we're hoping that Bayern's interest will of course create a bidding war that drives the value up for Kai Havertz. Right now, Arsenal want to pay less money, and they're probably thinking, if we have less competition in for Kai, how much leverage do we really have when we all know publicly that Kai doesn't want to commit to a new contract or extend his time with us? He's agreed personal terms with Arsenal, and that's around 225k per week. And I know I shouldn't be saying this right now, but when you're seeing these reports of Pulisic struggling to get moves because he's on 200k, Havertz is on 200k plus, all these guys on 200k, and you're thinking Mason Mount's on like a third of their wage value. You're telling me that we can't give them wage parity with guys like this? It's not making too much sense. But, for me, it'd be very easy to dismiss Kai's move to Arsenal as, a failed signing who was never as good as we thought he was. Get rid of him, reinvest the money. But I think Arteta's showing that he's kind of building something at Arsenal. And, Arsenal have plans to use Havertz based on reports as an 8, as a 10, and up front. And you might think to yourself, Nini, that's exactly how we use them. Why didn't he show levels for us? But for me, it's not really about the positions per se. It's more about how your team plays as a team, right? For example, let's say you use a 3-4-3. Some 3-4-3s involve using attacking mids behind the striker. Some involve using wingers who have pace that can stretch your play. And I do feel like if you have a guy like Kai, who's a very intelligent player, you do need those types of players that can create verticality, right? That can create space, that can run in behind, that can make space for Havertz to do what he does best. And I kind of feel like we kind of played everything ball to feet to Havertz time and time and time again. And I kind of have this, sneaking suspicion that if he does go to Arsenal, which is looking very likely now, he might be a great success for them. And I'm not very comfortable with that, to be fair with you. Anyway, right now, the ball's in Arsenal's court. We must remain strong for the fee we want. We're giving no discounts for Kai Havertz, especially to Arsenal. So it's up to them now to come correct and give us the money. And of course, to end with things, we have to discuss, the breaking stories these past few days. And that's Saudi clubs buying most of our players. And for me, this is just incredible timing. We're definitely taking advantage of this. And right now, Hakim Ziyech is set to be signing for Al Nassr. Right now, Edouard Mendy has agreed a 3-year contract with Al Ahli. Of course, Koulibaly is set to be signing for Al Hilal. Aubameyang has positive developments with a few Saudi clubs at this point in time, but I think one deal that won't be happening is Lukaku going to the Saudi League. Now, this would have been beneficial for us because we're guaranteed to make money from his transfer sale, right? And we were hoping to earn around at least 40 to 50 million euros, but Lukaku is adamant he is only remaining at Inter Milan. And of course, it was always going to play out like this, right? Of course, Lukaku He's going to work with Inter Milan. They're going to come back later as the window goes on when we're under more pressure to have to sell and renegotiate, because Inter Milan only want Lukaku on a loan deal. But I think the fear we all have is that after this second loan spell, I just can't see Inter Milan paying any type of money to sign Lukaku on a permanent, to be real with you. And I feel like we have to be strong now. You know, they're not really playing ball. There's no flexibility with them offering guys like Onana and Martinez, even though those two players are very interested. But I still kind of feel like as this window goes on, now that we're set to earn a decent amount of money from the sales of players who are surplus requirements, barely have any years left in their contract sales, you're open with the combined sales of your Obers, your Hakims, you know, your Koulibalys and your Mendys as well. That's bringing in at least maybe 50 to 60 million in total. But most importantly, that wage bill is dramatically getting cut down. I mean, to have Koulibaly off the wage bill too, a guy that we gave nearly 300 bags to last summer. Like, we were just so happy giving away any type of money to anyone last summer. And, you know, thank God that the Saudi League now are getting pass-through investments now from the Saudi government, because these guys will still be on the books, and I feel like we have even less flexibility for any type of business this summer. Ziyech is set to double his salary now when he moves to the Saudi League to sign for Al Nassr. He'll earn around 12 to 13 million euros. Crazy. Koulibaly, we're expecting to receive a fee of at least nearly 30 million euros. Plus, getting him off the wage bill is the biggest win in my opinion. And of course, Edouard Mendy, it's a shame how his career ended with us, but he's set to earn just life-changing money now in that league. 3-year deal on top two. We can't forget what he did for us. He had one of the, you know, really top-class, world-class seasons when we won the Champions League. Some incredible saves, important moments. It's a shame how things didn't really play out for him. But I guess the reality is that if he never made that move to us, he doesn't have the silverware he has currently in his career. And he doesn't get this opportunity to like sort himself out financially for the rest of his life and his family's life now. Now, of course, with so many Saudi clubs showing interest in our players in typical, you know, Premier League type of fashion, rival fans, journalists, they're a bit miffed. They're thinking I'll be doing some secret behind the scenes deals now to, you know, work these deals in our favor. And for me, it is a bit silly, and sometimes it shows me that some of these conversations, you know, they're so football centric that we forget how the real world also operates. And here's how I see it, right? I mean, there's an obvious common sense, clear reason why Saudi clubs are signing guys like Benzema, you know, Kante, Koulibaly, Ziyech, etc., etc. Of course, they're going to sign some of Europe's best players that, of course, follow Islam. And of course, for their fans back in the Saudi League too, they want to see players who represent their religion playing for some of the best teams back home. So it's a smart strategy in that sense, not just signing any Tom, Dick and Harry for the sake of it. And let's keep things real. They're not signing our players for above market odds or fees, are they? That is not happening. So it's really kind of immature, in my opinion, to try and force this type of controversy between the business deals we're doing. Like, Todd Boehly is an American capitalist, you know what I mean? Like, of course, but once I saw that photo of him traveling to Saudi Arabia to hold discussions and talks, I just knew I'm going to keep positive. I'm going to remain hopeful because, you know, he's not doing that for no reason, right? And I think it's quite clear that some of those business relations now are now working in our favor. Of course, there was some controversy that was announced. For example, Clear Lake Consortium, the consortium that bought us from Roman Abramovich. The Saudi PIF, which is basically the Saudi investment fund, of course, does have some controlling stake in Clear Lake Capital. But that doesn't actually mean that something bogus is happening behind the scenes. The thing is, at this financial level, with people that have this amount of wealth accumulated and power, I mean, their investments are spread in literally every single sector in every single capacity. And there's going to be a lot of like cross checks and references that come from that, right? For example, Todd Boehly, you know, he's a chairman for this company in Saudi Arabia called Kane International, where, you know, he did some business personally with the Saudi PIF. And of course, he's invested in some luxury hotels and real estate in Saudi Arabia. But at the same time, you know, Todd Boehly is a billionaire, and billionaires are billionaires due to, you know, how much investments they have in multiple sectors and fields. For example, Todd Boehly is also the chairman of the, you know, film production company A24, if you guys didn't realize that. He's also the chairman for Penx Media, and that runs like massive magazines like Rolling Stone, Variety magazine, etc, etc. And I think he's also a chairman for Eldridge Institution, if that's the name of the company. I can't remember off the top of my head. And that is the reality of life as a billionaire. So my thing is, if you're critical of that, if you're calling foul of that, you have to focus your criticisms on why maybe billionaires exist to begin with, but you can't criticize them for the strategies that they use to accumulate their wealth. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you could criticize them by making distinctions like, you know, if so much power and wealth is in the concentrated hands of a few people and they all invest in the same properties and industries, etc, etc, you could argue that naturally, human nature, they're going to have a lot of self-interest behind their investments, right? But for me, that's the only thing you can criticize, and no one's having that conversation, right? If you don't like that too, you know, criticize the Premier League, criticize UEFA. I mean, everyone's been very happy to receive investment from, you know, American capitalists, investment from, you know, the Middle East as well too. No one complains about that, right? But I'm sorry, yeah? When I'm hearing certain things like, Chelsea Football Club are affecting the sanctity of the game. The sanctity of the game. They're killing football. They're ruining the beautiful game. And it's coming from supporters who are supporting Man City, Newcastle, Arsenal, United. Like, this lack of self-awareness kind of gets on my nerves, I'm not gonna lie. Listen, we're playing the game better, right? I mean, BOEHLY is a leader in what he does, so are the ball that he's with. This is what they do, and this is what they did actually with LA Dodgers and other sports franchises. So this is part of the model, and this is why I did feel a bit optimistic that from a financial point of view for this football club, we were going to actually become pretty good based on the level that these guys operate on. So my friends, these are the 3 stories today. Very exciting stuff happening around Nicolas Jackson. How do you guys feel about that? And of course, make sure you guys stay tuned to the reaction video I'm going to release later on, yeah? So my friends, thank you for watching Codeine FC today. But regardless, I'm hoping that as the days go on, because I'm just standing up all the time now. I'm just looking to keep myself mobile to try and just recover as fast as possible, right? Like, yeah, I actually need to. So I am going to keep on with that. I hope you guys keep on watching the videos. I'll see you all soon. Cool.